that good?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he's boozing it up over here. How you doing, guys? Good Tuesday night to you. It's a week before the big man in the red suit comes. So hope you guys have got all your lists pulled together for what you're wanting out there because it's coming quick. Matter of fact, we won't be here next Tuesday night. Seeing as it is Christmas Eve. So we got a good show lined up for you guys tonight, and hope you'll enjoy it. As you saw, we've got a special guest. We try to get it out soon enough you guys could kind of all be here tonight. And, like I said, we've got Mr. Mike Mayberry with HiTec here tonight. So if you guys have any questions or any concerns in servos or things like that to put into your planes, tonight's a good chance to ask the questions because the man with the plan is here. And without further ado, we're going to pull him in and let you guys meet him. Let me get him right here. There we go. There
he is. Look at that. He's joined the club. He's got that.
Hey, guys.
What's up, man?
All that experience all upstairs.
Yes.
And thank you guys for having me. This is cool. This is I got to see little bits of your show, and it's a man. You guys really have a great show, great following, and I'm happy to be here.
Hey man, we're just humbled to have you. We're like I said, we just
how much we got to pay you for
really?
How much we got to pay you?
We're just having a good time, man. And we all gain knowledge with all these smart people on here that know more than we do about these planes and servos, electronics, things like that. And we try to get it out for the guys to learn and ask questions. So we're humbled to have you here tonight. We appreciate it, and I appreciate Thomas over at Legend Hobby setting this up for us with you. And like I said, man, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been doing this.
I've been in it all my life. So my dad was in the hobby, so I remember everything growing up.
So I build the heat kits,
all that stuff. Yeah, the radios and craft, and he actually grew up he was in Southern California. So all the big wig guys.
Exactly.
What's that?
What part exactly in Southern California?
We were in Long Beach, so we flew at the Bird Club.
I grew up in Norwalk, right off 605.
Yeah. My grandparents were in Norwalk, so
no kidding. Where at?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. My dad went to Excelsior High School, so
Excelsior High School. My mom used to dance there in the auditorium. I remember being there, and she was on all these leotard things, and this was like in the late 60s. I remember seeing her on stage. Wow, that's not hard to believe. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's all the roots there, and when I was a teenager, I started working for Hobby Shack. If you remember Hobby Shack.
Yeah, I lost all my money to Hobby Shack for like 15 years.
Yeah. So I went did work part-time, and then became a manager, and then
did you work at where they were in Fountain Valley as a whole, or was it one of the places?
They opened the San Diego store. In like 1985, maybe 84. So started working at the San Diego store, and I did actually work at Fountain Valley. I managed the Riverside store.
Wow.
So just it's always been a part of my life. Flying, racing cars. It's just always been part of my life. And so then took a few years. I was doing other stuff, and then my buddy Mike Greenshields, who with Hobby Shack, and his dad Johnny Greenshields. Johnny and my dad were best friends, and so he said, "Hey, these guys over at HiTec, they're in Santee. Why don't you go, talk to them? They don't have anybody that's really an RCer there, So they were all running the show, but nobody was really RCer, and that was in 1996.
Wow.
Right. So and here I am, right?
So you just came in. You're the hands-on guy because you do the RC. They don't. They make it, but they need somebody that knows how to get it out to the guys who need it. And you talk the lingo. They don't talk the lingo.
And it was also part of the development and stuff like that to have have somebody in their ear saying, "Hey, this is what's going on, and in the trenches, and this is what we need." And back then we were, there wasn't, it was we were kind of low on the totem pole, back then, and there was only a few players, but you know, like we were talking earlier about the 645. Well, the 645's been around for forever too, although it was a 605 at one point. But yeah, so you know, we say, hey, we need some cordless motor servos, and we need, you know, and you know, start coming out with higher end products, and then, you know, we need a little better radio. We need to have something with a touch screen, and so you know, a lot of it was, you know, not only just being involved with it and going to the events and stuff like that, trade shows, but helping develop the product, and a lot of things like the little HS65. That was something I said, hey, we got a 55, we got an 85, we need something in the middle, and you know, I said, hey, we need this, and came out with it and sold like hotcakes, you know. So and as you know, HiTec has all different levels of product, all different sizes. I actually don't know the exact count right now. We just added a couple new servos. There's a new this is the 648. So the 648 is a 645 with a 25-2 spline, because what we've run into is that the 24-2 spline in a lot of especially the car applications, it's not standard anymore, you know, and there's no horn. Like everything comes with the horn to fit 25-2. So most of our newer stuff, the digital stuff, and now some of the analog, you know, has the 25-2 spline.
Yeah, because that's Futaba. They use 25 spline on there.
Yeah. And so that was something that ideally long ago we should have, you know, saw the writing on the wall, but it could have been one of those things like, well, we want to be different, you know, because JR had 23 and we had 24.
Yeah, proprietary.
You know, yeah, Airtronics I think was 23. So nobody wanted to follow Futaba at that point until then aftermarket stuff started coming out, and it became more standardized.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So when you say HiTec's been around for how long? 50 years now?
Yeah. So we celebrated the 50-year anniversary. In fact, we did a big 50-year push. You know, it was 1973 was when we were founded. So 2023 we were out there with all our 50-year swag, and you know. Yep. You got to look good. You got to look good out.
Did you have the 70s music going as well?
we there was at Joe Nall, we did have the disco ball. Yeah.
Did you have the bell bottoms, leather belt, and puka shells?
That was 80s, by the way.
Wow. Was it? Well,
80s.
My mind is going.
Yeah.
So how far? In other words, my question right now is, when you started, you know, obviously you were like ground floor. They needed your help, your input, you know, because they didn't know where the market was going, and you had a feel for the market because you did it. From where you started to where they are now, what's the scale? I mean, are you 100-fold what you were?
It's even more.
Really?
In fact, the RC side for us is a small percentage of our business.
What's your main percentage?
It's the industrial.
Really?
So we have and it's there's if you go to our website, there's another link that says, you know, HiTec Commercial Solutions, and you go there and you can see all of the different servos, actuators that we offer. I mean, some are like this big, right?
Wow.
You know, thousands of dollars for a servo. We still sell a lot of the standard hobby servos, so to speak, into the industrial market. In fact, our top line brushless servo, the DB961 WP, is one of our best selling servos for the drones, and drones being drones, right? It can be anything.
Not the ones flying around now.
No, they're not there.
The ones flying around. I'm not going to say
know what those are.
But
I didn't see HiTec on the side. Did you see HiTec on the side?
Really? Exactly. Hey, John, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Always nice to have Christmas sunshine. Man.
Wow.
Very
$25.
Nice. Telling you, man. So what would an application be for a big $1,000 servo?
They're actually so they can go into really deep water even.
Well, they did say these were coming out of the ocean.
They're not even they're pressurized with like mineral oil.
Oh, wow.
So
that the seawater and the salt and everything out.
Yeah, so they're not only are they are they waterproof, but they have like mineral oil to handle the different pressures and
Wow.
stuff like that. So
What? How deep can you take them before they?
I Mariana's Trench, I think. So
Mariana Trench.
So that would be something like the
Send 'em down.
submersible, like the submersibles you see in things like that they're using for underwater exploration, things like that.
Just a lot of different stuff, yeah. And again, it's some of it too is still the standard, even the little servos. You know, so many applications in medical and
Yeah.
robotics and stuff, just to, you know, have a servo in something that just actuates something. You know, pinball machines, you know, all that type of stuff. But yeah, a lot of the drone stuff where, you know, it's really like a jet airplane, you know.
Wow.
And so you know, I mentioned the DB961, and that's our latest servo, and you know, it's about 800-inch ounce servo. And you know, with that came the need for a new case design, because the standard cases were really only good to about 500-inch ounces before you just start tearing them up. So that case design really made the servo be able to handle that kind of load, not run into any you know, mechanical issues. But the durability is just amazing. The motor that we use in there is designed by Steve New, who is an amazing motor builder.
Yeah.
And
I just tried one of my my new motors a little while ago. I threw a magnet, and it didn't chew up my planetary gear system, but it was going great right up until the point where it wasn't.
So we had when this new servo came out, we were really excited about it. And one of the other big applications is animatronics. And so there's a lot of animatronics out there where, you know, they're running constantly. They're running so much. And we were just at a big trade show, and there's a Bigfoot, you know, like an 8-foot tall Bigfoot that's got all of our servos in it and stuff.
Really?
Wow, that's
Yeah. And one of the first things that they did was they said, oh, we want to test the durability. And they plugged it into, they call them the dancing chickens. And if you search Google dancing chickens, you'll see it's Steve Atwell. And so they're just basically this animatronic stuff where, you know, they're squawking and they're dancing. And so we put the servos in there and ran them for 5 months, 24/7.
Wow.
And the only failure was that it wore through one of the wires.
Dang.
And the servos lasted all that time, and to date there would never been any servo you could put in that would live that long.
Wow.
And that's one of the reasons why we're so trusted in the industry, in the you know, in the industrial industry, and people putting them in these, you know, tens of thousands of dollar models, and of course, you know, they're for giant scale, and you know, RC cars, rock crawlers, you know, stuff like that. You know, it's just really, you know, these are the top of the line servos on the planet.
So you guys design them in-house there, or you have a
Not
factory?
here. No, we have our engineering team is in Korea.
So you just send them the information, what you want, and then they put it together. And
yeah, we provide the information of, you know, we want it, there's a target specs. You know, we look at other brands too, of course. You know, we say, hey, these guys are doing well. This seems like a good product. You know, and but one of the things about HiTec is, you know, we've always been really honest about, you know, the specs. And, you know, if you're familiar with LiPo batteries, you know that you know,
yeah,
right? I'll compare it to
that.
LiPo batteries. Okay, so C ratings on LiPo batteries are just, you know, they just whatever sounds good almost.
Yeah.
And so with HiTec products, you know, you can be guaranteed that our spec is going to be accurate. And you know, we do testing to very high levels. We won't offer a product that doesn't live. That, you know, we have a 2-year warranty, first of all, but, you know, it's our reputation, you know, for having a durable product. Now, again, there's you know, all products at all levels, right? So you can't necessarily expect a $30 servo to be, to live and be as durable as a $200 servo.
Right.
But so that's where kind of I've over the years, many years, done seminars, especially in Toledo. Did a lot of seminars where we would say, hey, what's the right servo for the job? Or what's the right tool for the job? And I would always tell people you want to match the level of servo, the level of component to the level of model. If you've got a high-end model, you want to give yourself the best chance of success. Right. And people will say like, well, can't I use this other servo? I'm like, you sure could. You could use it, and it's gonna work. But you want to give yourself. You don't want to risk. It's like I always kind of go back to kind of the fishing analogy because I used to do a lot of fishing. It's like I'm not buying cheap line because if I hook that fish of a lifetime, I don't want to break him off. And you got nowadays you have these models. Now, granted, it's not as much. There still is the builders out there, right? And I always say too, it's like, hey, you might have a not a fancy airplane, but you scratch built this or you put it together yourself, which is almost a rarity now, right? I mean, everything's just coming,
you're an antique
right out of the box, But hey, you got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that project, man. Give yourself the best chance of success. You would hate to see that model go down because you used a servo that really wasn't right for that application.
One of our viewers, John Holligan, good friend of ours, he was asking, does HiTec have a high voltage 7.4 VDC analog standard size servo?
So the 7.4 volt is mostly for the digital servos, but we do have a couple servos. There's the 430, which is a basic standard servo like the 422, and it is high voltage. But most of the servos are still rated at 6 volts. But that also means that you could use a 2-cell life battery. So the 2-cell lifey batteries, while they do charge, they peak to about 7.4, they fall off to about 6.8 really quick. Okay. And that's about the same as a 5-cell nickel metal hydride. Okay. So, but if you are running the 2-cell LiPo battery, which is going to be 8.4 fully charged, then there's only a couple servos that we offer in analog. That the 430, I think, would be one of them, and I think that's actually it. You would have to go to digital for the higher voltage.
Ken Wade, one of our pilots at our field, actually, where we fly, he wanted to know, is there a formula to determine what size ounces servo to use on an airframe?
There's a little bit of a rule of thumb that you have like your square inches to inch ounces. So if you had a 600 square wing, you'd need at least 60 inch ounces.
Okay, there you go. There you go, Ken. Ken's an engineer, so he ought to be able to get that one. That's good.
And let me just point out one thing: is there is no such thing as overkill. Right. There is no such thing as too much torque.
My wife doesn't agree with that when I keep sliding the credit card and buying things. Yeah. What are you doing? You don't need that. You got a whole thing. I said, look, you don't understand.
Hey, Mike says there's no such thing as overkill. Right. So yeah, because when you have a servo that has more torque, it just means the servo is not going to work as hard. So if you look at some of the recommendations of the manufacturers, and I kind of go back to kind of like a computers as well, as they say, your this game will work with this video card, but it works way better with this other video card, right? So you want to have headroom. The more torque, the less the servo has to work. If you're working that servo, within an inch of its life, it's like it's running. It's sprinting all the time, where you want it to just be taking a leisurely stroll.
Right. I got you.
You just get one of those Binford models.
Yeah.
Tim, the Toolman Taylor. Binford. Oh, yeah.
Anything. Did you see the nitro-powered screwdriver he had with the little...
Yeah. So, like, with Legend Hobby Planes, I'm sure you're knowledgeable of their airframes and things like that. Like we've got the T-28 up here. We got the RVA
stuff.
Yeah. Is there a particular size? I mean, I know again we're looking at different airframes, but is there a particular go-to that you would recommend for the majority, say, overall of the airframes with Legend Hobby planes that these guys are buying?
So yeah, and most of the stuff in those size categories in that type of model, right? You're not talking about a 3D model with massive travel.
Right.
When you start getting into there, then you need to be a little more precise because the centering is going to be an issue with the way the linkage is.
Right.
You don't have the mechanical advantage there.
Yeah.
The D645 is the digital version of the 645. That is one of our most popular servos, both of those servos, right? That is in history of RC, those servos are among the most popular ever. So the D645 is a Metal Gear servo, digital servo, almost 200 ounces of torque, plenty of torque, good centering with the digital circuit, and it very reasonably priced. So that servo is really good. What I also recommend, there we go. I also recommend in a little bit bigger planer, again, when you're talking about spending a little bit more money, is that to go to a coreless motor servo. So the coreless motor, and the way a coreless motor is built is people don't really like, what is coreless? I mean, there's nothing in the middle of it. Well, basically it's that you have a magnet in the middle, and then you have the windings around the outside of the magnet. Okay, so now you have a lot less mass on these windings, and the windings are closer to the outside of the edge of the motor, so it can dissipate the heat quicker. It has more poles, less weight for moving, versus a cord motor where you've got the magnets on the outside and you've got a steel stator with windings wrapped around it and three poles.
So basically, the difference between an in runner and an out runner on your electric motors, if you're really going to think about
like it. That. Yeah. But the coreless motor is going to be more efficient. It's going to be more powerful. It's a better design. It's gonna live longer. Going to give it's a better component, right? So when you step up to a coreless motor, then that's before your brushless motor stuff, right? Okay, so a coreless motor would be something I would recommend if you've got, and again, you're spending a little bit more time and effort, a little bit more money, maybe a little bit bigger model. You want a little bit more power, a little bit more headroom. But the 5585 is one of our more popular coreless motor servos. It's about a $75 servo, and it's in a standard metal gears with a plastic case. And then when we step up a little bit further, we've got like the D. And you guys probably remember like the 7955, which is one of the more popular servos in history as well. And so the latest servos are the D series. So we started with the 5000 series, 7000 series, now the D series. So the D series has more resolution, soft start, auto gain function called Smart Sense. So it keeps that jittering down. And then we started adding little better gear trains, steel gear trains, titanium gear trains, putting heat sinks on the motor, adding, brass pins to support the output, all aluminum cases, and so as you start stepping up into some of the better coreless servos and then the brushless servos, then you start to see better case designs, stronger, because it's got to handle it.
Right.
So another new servo that we came out with recently is called the DB950, which was based off the D950, but it's a brushless version. So it's a little over 500 ounces of torque. It's about $140 servo. Very, very smooth, very powerful, very reliable. Kind of in that high to mid to high range,
right.
of the servo lines that we have.
Johnny S was asking, is there a digital HiTec servo you would choose over any other when using a gyro over a non-gyro airplane?
So the when you go with the gyro, you want a digital servo, you have to have, right? So because of the rate, and the little bit quicker servos, sometimes we offer servos in different speed ranges.
Right.
So that's only just a gear ratio. So, for example, we have in the coreless motor. We have like a D940, which is a speedy servo, a D945, which is kind of mid, and the D950, which is the torque. Typically, I always kind of lean towards torque. Torque kind of will push through situations where you don't realize that, you say, oh, I need a speedy servo, but sometimes the speedy servos with a little less torque, sometimes it takes a little while for them to ramp up. Not with the brushless stuff. The brushless stuff really will push through anything. But the torque servos in models normally are a better choice, just because, again, you have that extra torque. It's going to push through whatever you need. And you can get, sometimes the planes are like twitchy with speedy servos, right? And then you'll have to add a bunch of expo to kind of compensate for it. So if it's, I think it was talking about helicopter there. So helicopters, they like the speed servos. Right. And so that's why we make the different versions of it. So if you were going to maybe go with something where you say, all right, I want, kind of the mid servo, then, we do offer typically 3 different, speed with less torque, middle, combination of both, and then the torquier servo, which are a little bit slower.
Okay. Well, I think that pretty much covers that, man. I mean, so that's good to know, because a lot of these guys flying these helicopters doing 3D and stuff with them, they can pick and choose what they want.
Those guys are nuts. I don't even know how they know how to input, because I'm looking at the helicopter flying. I go, he's got to be 10 steps ahead before he even inputs anything.
It's muscle memory. It's all muscle memory for those guys.
It is just unbelievable.
Yeah, if you think you die.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you talk about a dead chicken routine, man, that's awesome when those things go down.
Yeah, man, they fly parts everywhere.
Yeah. No, it's amazing how how the skill levels have risen over the years, and to even see nowadays where, again, I was around when, really 3D starting and stuff, right? And you get guys that
I believe the helicopter guy, that first one that did inverted, what was his name? Mike Moz, I think, and he was Southern California, and he was the first one that inverted with a collective, and he was on a stand or something with a pin. I just remember reading about it back in the day. I think that was the 80s. Huh.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff was fixed pitch, for a long time. And the advent of the flat foam models, the shock flyer, if you remember the shock flyer, that really kind of started it all. And then people were taking the blue core foam and making their own models. And
that's right.
And then, and then as we continue to progress, the models are getting lighter and lighter. And they're also wanting to use smaller and smaller servos. Yeah. So what happened there was that we're getting these manufacturers that are saying, hey, we don't want to put a standard size servo in this 60-inch airframe. We want to put a mini size servo. And at that time, the mini size servos were getting killed. So that's where we have to then develop new products. We have to say, okay, well, we need a more powerful mini servo. We need a more powerful micro servo. And so servos like the 7245 and the mini size came along, and the micro size, the D89, where we're using coreless motors in these now. And in the past, it used to be that there really were no servos at that level, for mini and micro. So that basically the manufacturers like 3D Hobby Shop, Extreme Flight, and they're kind of driving the technology too, because they're saying, hey, we're not going to put a big servo in these models because they have to be light. And so we said, all right, well, we'll step up, and here's your new servo. So.
And Michael Reichka had a question. He said, what servo do you have for surface, like a steering servo, very high torque and metal gears?
So the for the surface market, depending on the vehicle, I mean, the D954 is about $100 servo. It's 400 ounces of torque. It has a steel gear train, has a heatsink case. That is a really, really good servo in that price range for the surface vehicles, for 8 scale, for rock crawlers, stuff like that. We do also offer the D956, which is a waterproof version. So if you were had a crawler and you wanted to, get it wet. Now most of our servos have O-rings. They have like multiple O-rings throughout the case, and meaning that they're very water resistant. But we actually have IP67 rated servos, submersible servos, that you can get as wet as you want, and they're not gonna take on any water.
That's good to know. See, something for everybody.
That's exactly. You got to have something for everybody.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, being that I mainly fly, I've done a few, surface like trucks and things, but it's just not as fun as flying to me. But, I've always known HiTec for airplanes, and
Sure.
it's amazing to me to know that you guys are so much broader than just that,
I like how he brings up the numbers. He just goes, "Oh yeah, I got a D6."
Yeah.
Oh no, we got to the beads.
No.
He's not even looking at the paperwork.
Oh,
He must be doing this a long time.
Long time.
Damn. Gosh. So I mean, so I guess that's why you guys have got to stay with, especially what's going on in the market. You got to stay on top of it, because with things coming out all the time, and this industry is changing so fast with technology and what they're coming out with and the advancement of everything, you guys are really having to stay on top of it.
Well, we are. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it feels like we get behind. We see a lot of other brands, coming out with stuff. But one of the things that we really tout is the level of support that we have. So we have our own service department. There's a lot of brands out there that have no service behind them. And if you buy a servo and there may be a window of opportunity for them to replace it for you because it failed, but once that window's gone, there is no recourse. There's no getting it fixed. There's no getting it except buying a new one. Yeah. And with HiTec products, we support these products through the usable life of the product. You got a 645 that's 10 years old and you have something fail in it, we can fix it, and we might still not even charge you. I'd mentioned, before we had a customer just recently had fried his servos. He got them back and said, "Wait, I'm waiting for the bill." And said, "We didn't charge you."
I wrote that down.
So, and you can pick up the phone. You can call us. You can call me. You can get a hold of me and say, "Hey, Mike, man, I got a question. I need to know what servo to use." And I'll tell you good, better, best. I'll let you know what I think would be the right servo, the right tool for the job. But I'll let you know, if these would work, but these are better.
See, man, that's what's awesome, because nowadays you can't hardly get anybody, and that's one thing I will say about Thomas with Legend Hobby. I mean, he's right in there, man, and you can get up with him and talk to him directly, and that goes a long way for a company. Having somebody you can talk to, like you said, there's a lot of companies out there, big companies, and you can't even talk to them, and you have to go through bots or anything, and you still don't get anybody.
It just seems like they don't want to service anything. They just want to make another one so they can sell it to
exactly.
You. It's not like America. Old school America made stuff, and they would answer the phone if you had a problem.
Yeah,
that's old school.
Yeah. Or the person that is answering the phone isn't knowledgeable, right?
Right.
I mean, here I am. Not only I've been with the company all these years, right? It's my life. It's my hobby. It's people will ask me, I'll answer any question. You want to ask me, I'll give you my expertise on whatever question you got about, LiPo batteries or whatever. Of course, HiTec is not only servos, but is chargers as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So chargers is a big part of the RC side for us. We've been selling chargers for many, many years. In fact, we've come out with a kind of a new line of chargers. And in fact, I happen to have one right here. So this is our new 4-port charger. There's 4 ports on this charger. It's an AC/DC charger, and so it's got a 200 watts of power on AC, which means if you wanted to charge 4 batteries at once. You could spread it out 50 watts a piece, but it can pull up to 100 watts per port, and it does a smart distribution. So if you have a battery that's only pulling 30 watts and you want one that's pulling 70, and another one pulling 100, it'll give you all that power in a smart way, instead of just having like fixed wattage per port, which some of our older chargers had.
Yeah.
One of the other new products that we have that's doing very, very well for us. So it looks like a charger.
That's sweet.
Okay. But it's a discharger.
Okay.
So,
cool.
And this has Bluetooth. In fact, the 4-port charger has Bluetooth as well. So you can get an app on your phone. You can see everything that's going on your phone. So this discharger is a new product. We had a discharger. We still have the 8350, which was just a discharger only, and it would connect to our RDX2 800 or RDX2 1000, and you can discharge up to 40 amps.
That's a lot
on that discharge module. But this can connect to those chargers, but it also is a standalone unit. So it's got an LCD display. It's got an interface just like our chargers do. It's got Bluetooth, and then when you plug in a battery, it's gonna light itself up.
That's cool.
Light itself up. Okay, and then I can select to discharge up to 380 watts for 40 amps. Okay, so now at
burning it up.
Now here's where this is selling really, really well for us. And
what is retail on that, Mike?
This is $150.
Okay. All right.
And here's where you're going to need it. Okay. Especially, so you guys, if you're electric flyers and you're using bigger batteries, okay, say you got a 6S pack, say you got a couple, 3 or 4 6S packs, you go to the field and something happens and you don't discharge, you don't, use all your batteries. So you come home with a fully charged battery. Well, you got to put it in storage mode. You cannot leave LiPo batteries for more than 24 hours really without putting them in storage if you want them to live. So with the standard chargers, the discharge circuit that's built into those is 10 watts, maybe 20 at the most.
Yep.
You're talking on a 6S pack, even 4S packs, you're talking 8-hour discharge to storage on the charger. This is 15 minutes. This is less. I mean, you could, on a 6S, you can discharge at 15 amps, with the 380 watts. Watts is amps times volts. So you divide your wattage with your voltage and you get your maximum amperage. So this way, when you get home and you got some charged batteries that you need to get into storage mode, you just plug it into it. You set the storage level. You hit start, or go on your phone and you do it as well on your phone. You can monitor it. You could have it be sitting in your chair, drinking your beer with your phone, within range. And because since it's Bluetooth, can't get too far away, right? So you don't want to leave stuff too unattended. That unit is a big game changer, because in the past it took so long, or you would have to just burn it down in your aircraft, run the motor or something like that, which isn't good anyway.
I tell you another product you guys sell that I bought myself probably a couple of years ago, and I'm gonna tell all the guys in the chat, especially if you guys are getting into the HiTec servos for your builds. It's a must-have, in my opinion, for any of this HiTec servos, and that's this product right here, guys. And I'll take it out of the box and show it to you. This is a must-have, and what this is, and Mike can dive into it a little bit deeper probably than I can, but if you're gonna be flying the 645s or anything in your airplane, stuff like that, your builds, this product right here is not only a checker, a tester. You can set your servos up with this, but you can also reverse your servos with this if you need to reverse them for your airplanes. Also, you can program one servo and it will mimic it with this, so you don't have to program another servo. It will mimic that servo for you. So if you want your flap servos to be the same or whatever, this will do it for you. you take it from there, because I'm sure you can explain it more.
So yeah, so you can program the digital servos. The analog servos you can only kind of test and operate with it. But what you were mentioning there is the sync function.
Yes.
And so what you would do is you would get one servo set up, and you would and then you would match the other servo to it by just putting it into the sync function.
Right.
But you can change the endpoint, you can change the center point, you can change the deadband, you can change the reversing, you can add the smart sense in, which is you can adjust the soft start. So there's the HFB30. It's about $70 unit, but it is such a great tool. And again, especially if you have the digital servos.
Yeah. Well, the main thing, especially if you need a reverse servo. I mean, that's what's wonderful about it, because you can go in there and reverse that servo. You don't have to buy a different servo, you know?
Well, there's not even reverse servos anymore, you know? So, and typically what you would do was, if you had extra channels, which, a lot of radios now you can put it in multiple channels, you can put one servo per channel, and then you've got that ability. But sometimes you've used them all up and you got to use a Y harness.
Right.
And if you use the Y harness, you can get a reversing Y, but anytime you add like extra stuff, like extra electronics, like it's just one more point of failure to me.
That's what I say.
Just like you should always keep it really simple.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I just one of my friends is building his T28. He called me asking me questions, and I told him to order one of these, and he did. He ordered one and was supposed to be getting it like in 3 days, and because he needed to reverse some servos. So it's a great tool to have in your tool bag, I can tell you that.
I see Michael's asking about the 7955. So of course that servo is a legend. It's been around for a long time. We actually discontinued it when the D955 came out, and really the only difference is the circuit. So the 7000 series circuit is a 2048 resolution, which is still excellent, right? But the D series is 4096, so it's double, and it has some of the extra features, like I said, the soft start. But the 7955 is still absolutely fantastic servo. We ended up bringing it back because people were saying, "Hey, I want this servo," and we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot sometimes by discontinuing older stuff, thinking we're replacing it, and people don't want to replace it. Same thing with the 5645. Okay. The 5645 is the old 5000 series circuit. The D645 is a better servo, but we sell a ton of 5645s because people just say, "Hey, that servo works for me. That's what I like. That's what I want. I know it works. I don't want the newer version. I want this version." So we still sell that servo. We still sell 7955. 7950s we haven't gotten in a while, but they're supposed to, I think the motors were harder to come by, so sometimes that's what happens is the components get discontinued and you can't make it anymore.
Gotcha. So is there, for the guys that are flying the bigger 60cc size 3D planes and stuff like that, we have a lot of those at our field. Is there a go-to servo there that you would highly recommend for those guys?
So 60cc, it's a great size. The 5585 would be what I would say would be the minimum. Because the cordless motor. I mean, again, I'm thinking more of this 3D stuff. So if it's sport, still the D645 servos are well proven in those applications. If you're flying, 3D airplanes, then you need a little bit more travel, you need a little bit more torque, a little bit more precision with the cordless motors. But in that size category, again, a minimum's D645. 645s with the analog. The advantage to digital is that it develops its torque so much sooner. So the torque curve is so much steeper. So with an analog servo, if you push on it, you can defeat it. And that means that as it's pushing the surface, it's still lugging a little bit behind, where the digital servo pushes through that. So always recommend kind of digital servos in the bigger airplanes. But yeah, the D645 in sport models, that size category is okay. But I do still like to go with coreless motor servos with the bigger models, with the more expensive, with, again, it's just matching the level of component to the level of model.
Yeah, and that makes perfectly good sense. I mean, it's like if you're going to spend good money on a model, you might as well step up and spend the rest of the money on good, electronics too.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think people overlook sometimes is when they're setting things up, that they're quick to just kind of throw in the linkage and hook it up to the servo horn and hook it up to the tail, and then they may say, "Oh, I have way too much throw. Let me turn down my endpoints." That's the absolute wrong thing to do. You want to set up the servo to have maximum throw, and you want to get your mechanical advantage. So you want to be closest to the center line of the servo as possible. You want to have the longer horn in the back. If you start having a really long horn on the servo and a short, you're shortened up on the horn on the surface, then that gives you more travel. But you don't need more travel at that point. You want the servo to be moving more, because then the small, if you're at a disadvantage with the long horn, the small movement of the servo affects the control surface more, meaning that it's more likely to go out of trim, if the servo is not as precise. And also it's a torque thing. You have more torque with the shorter arm on the servo and the longer arm on the horn. So you always want to use the maximum travel, at least 100%, and you can even go further with that. In some cases, you've got dual rates to 120 or 140%, endpoints 120 percent. So maximize your EPA and set your max travel for your high rate, by the linkage, not by the EPA.
Okay, and going back to the discharger, someone was asking what's the safe max rate to discharge a battery, like 1C for charging, I guess is what he's asking.
1C for charging is always kind of the standard. 2C is pretty much accepted nowadays. I don't necessarily charge more than 2C in most cases, unless I'm racing cars, when I just abuse the heck out of them, and that gives you more power. But as far as the discharge goes, that's where the C rating comes on the battery, right? So, say you have a battery that says it's 10C and it's 5,000 milliamps. So it says, all right, I can discharge at 50 amps. That's the maximum. So the discharge rate is so much higher than the charge rate. So you can pull these batteries down at much higher rates. So as long as you're within, say even 25% of what the C rating is, you shouldn't really be taxing the battery too much. But because they're made to discharge, that's that they're made to give their power. In fact, the batteries are also have more performance when they're a little warm. And that's one of the reasons why the car guys, we will charge it at 35 amps. We have chargers that charge up to 35 amps and dischargers discharge at 40 amps. They'll take these 5,000 milliamp 2-cell packs, charge them at 35 amps, discharge them at 40, charge them back up at 35 amps. Now, it's not great for the battery, but what they found out is that it has about 10 to 15% more power when you do that. And when you're racing stock and you need that little extra edge, and that was really one of the reasons why we developed the discharger, was because these guys were abusing their batteries, and we wanted to give them, what they wanted. But then we realized that there's so many more applications for the discharger. And when this new unit was introduced to us, I said, this is going to be a hot item. This is not just for car guys. This is for airplane guys with 6S packs.
Yeah.
And so think about when you're discharging your battery, you got your battery, your 5,000 milliamp battery, and you go up in your airplane, you fly for 5 minutes. Okay, well, what's the average? What's that average amperage? It's 40 amps probably. So they can handle it. So discharging, but you'll also notice with batteries that aren't really up to snuff, you start getting, too much amperage and the voltage will just sag. And, and then just the performance goes down. So that's where the C rating comes in. That's where you want to make sure that you're not pushing your battery, within, say a third or even half of what the C rating is. That's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. That's interesting stuff, man. I mean, like I said, typically in the cold weather, we'll take batteries and put them under an electric blanket or something when we're out flying, just to get them a little bit warmer for the planes. Because one guy told me a long time ago when I started flying planes with electric, when I was flying that, he said, batteries are like us. They like to be comfortable. He said, and if they're too cold, they don't perform well. If they're too hot, they don't perform well. So we've been out at the field on days when it's been so cold flying. We've got batteries underneath an electric blanket on the table, you know what I mean, to keep them at a warmer temperature.
They will perform better when they're warm. Absolutely.
That's
yeah. And if you look at sometimes you look at like a lipo discharge curve, you'll see that it'll drop and then it'll kind of raise up a little bit on the voltage. And that's because it starts to warm up a little bit, and then the resistance is less. One of the things in the discharger and the chargers is that it shows what the internal resistance of each individual cell is. Well, actually on the charger side. And so that'll give you an idea about how your pack is. If you get a cell that's significantly higher, or the numbers are really high, I mean, if they're all pretty similar, then, it is what it is. This is, you'll see some batteries will have lower internal resistance, and those are typically the better batteries, right? But if you have a pack, a 6S pack, and you've got, 10 milliohms on 5 of the packs and 45 on one of the cells, then it's not in good shape. And you just need to kind of be aware of that.
Cool. Well, so Thomas and you guys had said something about you wanted to give away some servos tonight. How do you guys want to do that?
Have you guys given away stuff before? I mean,
we have. Typically, if it's coming from you guys or Thomas or however, we just ask a question and we wait for the correct answer of the number of person we call out. And then Thomas would send it, or whoever, if you or whoever wants to send it to them, get their information. That's how we normally do it, unless you've got a better way of doing it.
I'll default to you guys' method. So whatever, however you want to do it. I think we were talking about giving away 4 of the D645s.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You can't get it. You're disqualified.
Yeah.
Well, Ken Wade's got to go home because he always wins.
He's got a horseshoe that's so golden. It's so far up there. We don't even know how to get it out.
Man, so do you have a particular question in mind that you'd like to ask? And if you do, you can hit me in the private chat down on the side of your screen, and I'll only be the one.
Man, I don't know. I think you guys should have give me a little heads up on this one.
Hey, this is Thomas here, man.
Spot, right? So
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, how many years has HiTec been in business?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. And we will take
what number?
We'll take the 10th person.
10th person that gets it right. So you got to get 10 people got to get it right, and whoever's the 10th person that gets it right. Yeah. How many years has HiTec been in business? Now that should be pretty simple.
That's right.
We've talked about it 25 times.
All right,
All right, here we go. We got 1, we got 2, we got 3, 4, 5, 6. You guys are doing good. Now you guys you're all drunk. 7. Keep going. Come on. We're close. 3 more. Oh, man. It's just like you can see them when they're. This is the one. Oh, you guys were doing great, and then you're off in left field. Oh, there's 8, there's 9. I think that's all right. So I have to go back and start, and I can recount that.
Okay.
Because they just went off. It was like doing great, and all of a sudden you got a spike to the left and a
Squirrel!
spike to the right. All right, so let me read it, and I can find exactly. I can double check who it was. 1, 2.
All right, you guys
3,
can stop commenting now.
4, 5, 6, 7,
and give them again the correct answer.
8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's the right one.
Okay, well, what let's have obviously we did celebrate our 50-year anniversary in 2023, so it's 2024 or 51.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so
see,
there we go. I got to recalculate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Was it? I knew it would be Ken Wade. Did I tell you?
I swear, he's got this shoe of gold shoved so far somewhere.
He won a DA motor at our fly-in in September, man.
I got to double check, triple check that one.
Yeah. Damn.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. Ken Wade is the lucky winner. So,
well, congratulations, Ken.
Yeah. So what Ken needs to do is get with you, and that way you guys can send them right out to him. Does that sound all right with you?
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
Okay. Yep. So Ken can just give you his information, and that way you guys can hook up.
Can you get him like my email address?
I can do that. Matter of fact,
okay.
I will send that to him right now.
Okay. You got him on speed dial there?
Well, actually, he messaged me tonight about the show. And because Lord, God forbid, he won't go miss it because he knew he'd probably win something. Let's see. Let me send him this right now. And let's see. That way he'll have it. He's the luckiest man in the world. I'm just telling you, man. But we love him to death. He's a good guy. And he needs to be playing the lottery if he hadn't. Because and I'd have him buy my tickets, to be quite honest with you, because I think if he bought them, anybody could win. Let's see, rcd@.com. Okay, cool. So I just sent him, Ken, I just sent Mike's email to you on Messenger. So if you will reach out to Mike, I'm sure he will get your Christmas gift in the mail. Oh, God, what a lucky man, I swear.
I do got a question for Mike.
All
Mike,
right.
How much stock do you usually keep of servos in your warehouse locally?
Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to hear. So it's not like I call Horizon and 8 months later I get a servo.
Yeah, for $10.
So you can actually go, you look on your computer, where's it on the shelf, how many we have, and we'll let you know if it's da. So you actually have somebody there we can talk to you. And we can't talk to you every time. Obviously, you have people working for you.
We got our guys in the service department that have been, actually Tony's been here longer than me.
Wow.
And then Don came in a year after me. So we're talking like, almost 60 years worth of experience in the service department. And so they're happy to answer questions, and but I'm available most of the time. I do.
You won't give out your personal cell number, man.
I do get to get out to events and stuff on occasion. Joe Nall's the big event, obviously, that we do every year, and we were so happy to be back down on we had a couple booths where we had the 3D line where we were down there, we kind of set up base camp, and then we had the vendor row, and lots of people there. Just so happy to do those events. I haven't done some of the other events like Seth recently, and we're talking about going back to the NEAT Fair. I haven't been back to the NEAT Fair in a while, but do a lot of other car events, and there's still some trade shows. Not a lot though. I mean, it used to be there were so many trade shows that we would go to.
I know that just shrunk up when the pandemic.
It's just times change.
Yeah.
Times change,
Yeah.
but it's I'm so lucky. I mean, here I made my hobby, my career, and just a great group of people, great company to work for, and just such a wonderful hobby, wonderful industry.
Well, we just appreciate you being here and sharing all your knowledge with us tonight, man, and just having you here and talking to the guys and answering their questions. It means a lot to us, and we appreciate all you do with Legend Hobby too, because Tomas is always good to us, and we all use HiTec servos and our stuff. So we just appreciate you guys, man, a whole lot.
Well, I appreciate it too, and it's really fun to come on here. You guys are, great guys, and it was super easy, and it just flows real well. It's always nice to do something like this, and just thank you for having me on, and I look forward to the next time.
Hey, well, we'll definitely have another time, because we just love talking with you and picking your brain. So stick around for a second, and I'm going to say goodnight to the guys, and I'll be right back with you. All right. Thank you guys and for being here. And like I said, you guys thank Mike for being here. And
see you guys.
Like I said, I'll be right there with you, Mike. Hang out for a second. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed that and got some knowledge from it and maybe learned something. If you need some servos, you can go to Legend Hobby, or you can hit Mike up directly at HiTec. Get what you need. Get a disc charger, get a battery charger, get the servo device that we told you about. This is awesome right here, guys. But we just appreciate all you guys for being here. It's almost another year gone by. Like I said, Christmas Eve will be here next Tuesday night. Wayne's leaving for California Thursday, and it's Christmas Eve Tuesday, so we probably will not do a show. So we'll miss all you guys that are here, and as always, but we'll be back probably, I don't know, New Year's Eve, you think, maybe? We can do a marathon.
Well, it all depends on how it goes where I'm going.
Yeah, well, that's true too. So we'll definitely keep you posted on that one, guys. But again, we appreciate all of you guys, and we hope you have a safe and wonderful Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and all that good stuff. And yeah, if you got to travel, be safe. Hope Santa Claus is good to you. Don't forget to go to Legend Hobby and order your projects, guys, because the containers are coming in and they're going to sell out fast. And once they do, it's going to be a while before you get something. So with all the snow some of you guys are getting, you're going to be in the house for a while, so you might need a project.
Yeah. Snow.
So yeah, you're going somewhere warm. Maybe you need to call Mike.
I'm going to do some surfing.
But anyway, guys, we appreciate you, and thank you for being here, each and every one of you. It means a lot to us. And we'll see you shortly, I guess, if not first of the year. So take care, be safe, happy travels, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon, guys. Take care. Bye. You're crazy.
Can't believe Ken won.